Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Section 4, cultural achievements of Islamic people groups. And this is a relatively short section. I'm giving you a very basic rundown of this information, obviously keeping it brief and very much condensing it. So, as far as the sciences go, Islamic scholars made a lot of contributions to astronomy, geography, math, and science. So, a lot of Muslim cities even have observatories in them where people are able to study the sun. They can study stars. They can study the moon and its movements. And so, this gives them a much better understanding of one, where they are in the world, and two, time, clock making, all of that. Uh, we learned a lot from Muslim nations that were studying these things. Now, as far as astronomy goes, a lot of Muslim scientists are able to start charting their position on the Earth based on the location of stars in the sky and the movements of stars through the sky. So they get a much clearer picture of the world and their place in the world. Um, it also gives them an advantage when it comes to exploring, navigation, map making. Their merchants and explorers are able to travel more widely just because they're able to find their way and navigate more effectively. Geographers, like I was saying, are able to create maps that are far beyond the maps that they previously had access to, just because they're able to calculate distance more accurately. Being able to study the stars, the movement of bodies through space, it really helps a lot in navigating and figuring out where things are. Muslim mathematicians also contributed quite a lot. You can thank them for algebra or not, I guess. Algebra's not my favorite thing, but I suppose some people might enjoy it. Yes, that's a contribution by Muslim mathematicians. Um, honestly, for a time, particularly during the medieval era, the Muslim world was the place for knowledge, scientific advancement, medicine, um, often being far more advanced than European nations. Um, Muslim doctors are also the ones responsible for the first pharmacies, teaching people how to make medicine in that sort of environment, making it so that they can produce it and provide it to the community. They combined Greek and Indian knowledge in order to create a more thorough body of knowledge. One doctor even figured out how to cure smallpox. So, again, far beyond typical European doctors from the time. As far as literature and art goes, poetry, the Muslim world was very, very fond of poetry. Um, you also are probably familiar with some pretty famous stories. Um, have you guys heard of the 1001 Nights? Does that sound familiar to anyone? You've probably heard about it and aren't actually aware of it. This includes short stories like Aladdin, Sinbad, Ali Baba. All of that's included in the 1001 Nights. So, stories that are actually pretty incorporated into our own culture originate with Muslim culture. Architecture is a big one. Uh, Basically, one of the main ways Muslims would express or develop art would be through the building of mosques. Um, they built beautiful, sprawling, fantastic mosques in order to honor God. Usually, these feature this large dome, and I'm going to show you a video in just a minute of different mosques. Um, and also they include these smaller towers. Now the towers are significant. This is where like the call for prayer comes from, um, and so Muslims would know that it is time for their prayer, which again they pray 5 times per day, um, because of these towers and the call going out from said towers. Now, keep in mind, Muslim art does not show people or animals. They believe that only God has the right to create humans and animals or their images, and so they don't typically use images of people or animals or living beings. Which means they had to find other ways to be decorative. Christian art, you'll often see God depicted, or Jesus depicted, or a saint depicted, or stories from the Bible. The Quran does not. I'm sorry, not the Quran. The Muslim art does not do that. Instead, they decorate with beautiful patterns, like you can see in this picture here to the right, or um, calligraphy, decorative writing. This, for example, is in Arabic, and oftentimes they'll use lines from the Quran in order to decorate. So in a Muslim mosque, you will often see decorative patterns like this, and also lines from the Quran, calligraphy uh, used to decorate. And it really creates a very striking image. Um, Also, Muslim art often combines both Islamic influences with some regional traditions and practices. And so it's not going to be exactly the same from one place to another. There's a lot of overlap. Um, what you get in India, in a mosque in India, might not look the same as what you get in a mosque in Africa. All right. Anybody have any questions? That was